Humanity had always believed that joining the wider galaxy would bring peace, understanding, and a chance to grow without fear. When Earth was accepted into the Galactic Council, people celebrated for days. The news showed glowing cities filled with hope, students in classrooms cheering, and scientists dreaming of new discoveries. Everyone thought this was the start of a bright new chapter, but the galaxy didn't see Earth the same way Earth saw itself to many alien civilizations. Humans were the new ones, the quiet guests at a party they had not been invited to. Before, humans spoke politely, listened carefully, and tried to make friends with every species they met. They worked hard to show respect, because they feared that even a small misunderstanding could cause trouble. So Earth built a reputation for calm behavior. It wasn't fake humans truly wanted peace. But this gentle attitude led many other species to form their own ideas. Some believed humans were simply humble. Others believed they were slow, and a few believed they were weak. At first, no one on Earth realized how these ideas were spreading. The official meetings at the council always looked friendly. Representatives bowed to each other, exchanged polite greetings, and traded small symbols of culture. Everything looked peaceful from the outside. But behind closed doors, whispers started to grow. Alien envoys spoke softly among themselves, wondering why humans always agreed, why they avoided conflict, why they apologized even when things were not their fault. In many cultures across the galaxy, strength was shown through boldness. If a species avoided raising its voice, they assumed it lacked the power to do so. Humans were nothing like that. They were new, hopeful, and still learning how the galaxy truly worked. So while humans thought they were building friendships, some others saw an opportunity. Small problems started first. A human merchant ship was delayed at a border for no real reason. A human cargo route was taxed so heavily that traders had to travel around 3-star systems to avoid the cost. A communication line was intentionally slowed down, making Earth look disorganized during meetings. Every time something like this happened, humans tried to solve it with a smile and careful words. They didn't want to insult anyone. They didn't want to start trouble, but for the wrong audience, constant politeness felt like silent permission. Slowly, a group of alien governments began to push Earth a little harder. They didn't want to destroy humans or cause war. They simply wanted to show the galaxy that Earth should stay in its small place. They believed humans were harmless and would always stay quiet, no matter what. Over the years, these actions grew from bothersome to unfair. A few human outposts reported strange malfunctions that later turned out to be caused by hidden sabotage. A shipment of medical supplies was damaged while passing through another territory. When Earth asked for answers, the responsible species shrugged and blamed equipment failures. More than once, the apologies sounded fake, as if the trouble was nothing more than a game. Still, humans refused to react with anger. They wanted to be seen as reasonable members of the council. They told themselves that patience was the right path, that the galaxy needed time to accept them, that peace mattered more than pride, but patience has its limits, even for humans. Inside Earth's central council chambers, quiet debates began. Some leaders argued that humans should speak more firmly. Others said they should keep calm. Nobody wanted conflict. Yet everyone could see that the galaxy was slowly losing respect for humanity. Every insult and every unfair action made Earth look smaller. And Earth was not small. It simply acted small because it did not want to frighten anyone. What the galaxy didn't know was that humans had a history of solving problems with innovation, determination, and sometimes incredible sacrifice. Earth had learned from centuries of mistakes and conflict lessons that shaped them into a species that avoided aggression, unless there was no other choice. But the Council didn't see any of that. All they saw was humanity smiling politely, while being pushed around One day, during a routine council meeting, a representative from a powerful alien species publicly questioned why humans were even part of the council. The comment was rude, unnecessary, and made several others laugh. The human envoy simply bowed their head and responded with calm words. But that moment became a symbol. It told the galaxy that Earth would always tolerate disrespect. Back on Earth, the reaction was different. People saw the recording and felt something shift inside them. It was no longer just unfair treatment. Now it felt personal. Humans began discussing whether their peaceful behavior was actually making things worse. They had tried so hard to fit in that they forgot that respect must be mutual. Still, Earth did nothing. They waited, hoping things would get better. But things didn't get better. A group of alien governments formed a tightly bonded coalition. They believed they could guide the flow of power inside the galaxy, and they wanted Earth to stay out of the way. They saw humans as a soft voice in a loud room, easy to ignore or silence. The coalition began blocking trade shipments more aggressively. They claimed it was due to security checks, but everyone knew the inspections were meant to slow Earth's progress. When Earth complained, the coalition responded with long, complicated explanations that meant nothing. Even the Council pretended not to notice what was happening, telling humans to remain patient. People on Earth felt frustration building, but even then, humanity tried to stay calm. They began improving their own systems quietly, building better ships and stronger defenses. They didn't show these improvements to anyone. They didn't talk about them. They simply worked in silence, hoping they would never need to use any of it. The Council continued to assume Earth's calm behavior meant weakness. The coalition believed Earth would always follow the rules, no matter how unfair those rules became. And for a while, it really looked like Earth would tolerate anything. But deep inside Earth's highest leadership, something was starting to change. They had watched their traders struggle, their scientists lose resources, and their ambassadors get mocked. Yet the coalition wasn't satisfied. They pushed harder, looking for the moment when Earth would break, and they found it. One peaceful human research station, sitting quietly near the edge of a friendly star system, became the spot where everything began to shift. But that part of the story belongs to later. For now, what mattered most was the slow build-up, the long, quiet stretch of time when humanity tried everything to avoid conflict, even when others took advantage of that kindness. Humans did not want to be seen as dangerous. They didn't want to frighten anyone. They wanted a galaxy where every species, no matter how small or new, could stand proudly. But the galaxy didn't understand something very important about humans. They were polite because they chose to be, not because they had to be. And sometimes, when patience is mistaken for weakness, a moment eventually comes when the polite smile fades and the truth finally shows itself. Earth wasn't ready to reveal that truth yet, but the warning signs had already begun to glow quietly in the background. The galaxy had no idea how close it was to discovering who humans really were, and how far humanity would go to protect their dignity once pushed too far. Part 1 ends here, with a calm surface hiding a storm that no one in the galaxy could see coming. The research station was never meant to be anything more than a peaceful place. It floated quietly near the edge of a calm star system, far from any major trade route, far from political tension, and even farther from anything that could be considered dangerous. People on the station spent their days studying stars, mapping mineral-rich asteroids, and sending harmless data back to Earth. Life there felt slow, calm, and almost boring. But boring was good. It meant safety. The workers there believed they were too small and too unimportant to get caught in the middle of galactic politics. They didn't even think the coalition knew about them. Earth knew the station was peaceful, so no one could imagine anyone targeting it. The galaxy had its disputes, but research posts were usually respected, and left the lone dot, so when the first alert appeared on Earth's deep space monitoring system, nobody understood what they were seeing. A sudden burst of energy near the station, a strange movement on long-range scanners, and then silence. The station's small signal blinked, flickered, and suddenly faded out. At first, Earth believed it had to be a technical fault. Maybe a solar flare. Maybe a malfunction. Something natural, something harmless. People hoped it was just a glitch that would fix itself. But the signal didn't return. The communication team tried again and again, sending message after message, adjusting frequencies, scanning every corner of the nearby star system. Nothing worked. The station stayed dark. Hours later, a faint emergency ping arrived. It was weak, unstable, and almost broken. But it was enough to tell Earth that something had gone terribly wrong. The message wasn't detailed. It didn't contain any long report, just a few lines of shaky text. But those lines changed everything. It said the station had been approached by unknown ships. It said systems had failed for reasons that looked artificial. And it said the crew had no explanation. After that, the signal cut off completely. Suddenly, the situation no longer looked like an accident. It felt deliberate. And it felt like the moment that every patient human leader had secretly feared. When news reached Earth's Council building, the room fell into a stillness no one had felt in years. People stared at the message in silence, reading and rereading those short lines, trying to understand how a harmless, peaceful research station could attract any kind of trouble. Some leaders suggested waiting for more information. Others suggested contacting the nearest council officials. A few believed it was just another misunderstanding. Humanity was used to being treated unfairly, but this felt different. The sense of wrongness was heavy. Later that same day, blurry footage from a nearby listening post confirmed what everyone feared. A small coalition fleet had passed close to the research station just before it went dark. There was no proof of what they did, no clear images, but the timing was too perfect to ignore. When the footage was shown on Earth's public broadcast channels, people were stunned. Many citizens had no idea how often Earth was mistreated in council politics. They had seen small problems, heard rumors, but this time it felt personal. A peaceful group of scientists had been endangered. The reaction was loud and immediate. People demanded answers. They demanded justice. Social networks filled with frustration, confusion, and disbelief. How could the galaxy attack a place where humans weren't even doing anything political? Why would anyone target a small group of researchers who didn't even carry weapons? The coalition stayed completely silent. That silence became the loudest part of the whole situation. No message, no apology, no explanation. Not even an acknowledgement that anything happened. Earth requested an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council, expecting at least concern or sympathy. But when the representatives arrived, the Council seemed strangely uninterested. Some claimed they didn't have enough evidence. Others said Earth was overreacting. A few even suggested the human station might have been careless with its own equipment. The human envoy sat in the council chamber, listening calmly but feeling something break inside. They tried to explain how much the station meant, how peaceful it was, how wrong the situation felt. But the response was cold, almost dismissive. It was as if nothing serious had happened. Earth once again tried to stay polite. They didn't raise their voice. They didn't threaten anyone. They only asked for a proper investigation. The council nodded, promised to look into it, and quickly moved on to other topics. That moment told Earth everything it needed to. No, the council wasn't going to help. The coalition wasn't going to admit anything. And the galaxy was going to pretend nothing happened. But humans were not pretending. Back on Earth, the mood felt heavier each day. People didn't want war. They didn't want to scare anyone. But they wanted fairness. They wanted respect. They wanted to know their citizens could work safely without being targeted for no reason. For years, Earth had believed the galaxy would change if humans stayed patient and polite. But the attack on the research station opened old wounds, memories of times in human history when kindness was mistaken for weakness, when peace was ignored, and when patience was used as an excuse by others to take advantage. Humanity had matured, yes. They had learned to control their anger, choose diplomacy, and avoid unnecessary conflict. But they had not forgotten how to stand up when pushed too far. Quietly, without making public announcements, Earth sent a small recovery team to the star system where the station once operated. The team didn't go to fight. They went to understand what had happened. What they found was heartbreaking. The station was still there, but it was drifting, powerless, and silent. It looked untouched from the outside, almost peaceful, but the inside was dark. Most systems had been shut down in a way that looked planned, not accidental. It didn't look like a natural failure. It looked like someone wanted to send a message. Without causing destruction, the crew had already been safely evacuated in escape pods picked up earlier by a patrol ship. But even they didn't fully understand who caused the failure. All they knew was that unfamiliar ships had gotten too close too quickly, and the station's systems collapsed right afterward. The recovery team returned to Earth with the evidence they could gather. But once again, the coalition denied any involvement. Their spokesperson even suggested the station's crew overreacted to routine patrol movements. Earth realized the truth. No one was going to admit the mistake. No one was going to apologize. No one cared that the peaceful station had nearly been lost. Humanity had allowed these insults to pile up for years, always choosing patience, always hoping things would improve. But something had changed now, something deeper. It wasn't just about politics anymore. It was about dignity. People started saying the same thing across Earth. How long do we stay polite while others push us? Leaders who had once argued for endless patience began to rethink their position. They saw the frustration in people's voices, the disappointment, the feeling of being ignored by the very council that claimed to protect peace. Earth didn't want conflict, but it was becoming clear that avoiding one could no longer come at the cost of respect. For the first time in many years, Earth held a closed-door meeting with its highest-level advisors. They didn't talk about retaliation. They didn't talk about aggression. They talked about truth, the truth that the galaxy had never seen the real human strength, because humans chose to hide it to avoid fear and instability. But hiding had stopped helping. Even Earth's younger generation, who grew up believing the galaxy was a friendly home, began asking hard questions. Why did the coalition feel bold enough to approach a research station? Why did the council act like nothing happened? Why was Earth expected to stay silent? Nobody wanted to see humanity become hostile. But everyone felt that continuing to remain gentle, no matter what, was no longer an option. The attack on the research station didn't break humanity. It awakened it. It reminded Earth that politeness only works when both sides respect each other. When respect is missing, politeness becomes a mask that others learn to ignore. And behind that mask, a very different human spirit waited, patient, strong, and capable of far more than the galaxy had ever seen. This was the moment when the balance quietly shifted. The moment when Earth stopped asking, "What if we upset someone?" and began asking, "What if we finally tell the truth?" The truth that humans were not weak, the truth that humans were not afraid, and the truth that there would come a day soon when the galaxy would finally understand why Earth's patience was never something to take lightly. For many years, the galaxy believed humans were exactly what they appeared to be: soft-spoken newcomers who preferred harmony over challenge. From the outside, humanity looked like a species that avoided big risks and stayed away from any show of force. Their ships were simple, Their stations were modest, and their technology seemed just advanced enough to be useful, but not enough to be threatening. The galaxy grew comfortable seeing humans as mild and predictable. But what the galaxy didn't know was that humans had been holding back for a long time. Earth had reasons for hiding its full potential. The early years after joining the Council were filled with caution. Human historians and diplomats studied the patterns of older civilizations, noticing how fast things could fall apart when a powerful new species appeared. Some species reacted with fear, others reacted with competition, a few reacted with hostility. Humans didn't want to start their place in the galaxy by causing panic or mistrust. They wanted to enter slowly, calmly, and without intimidating anyone. So Earth made a careful decision: never show everything at once. They chose to reveal only what was necessary: basic ships, standard engines, public research facilities, and common trade routes. All the advanced work, the deep-level discoveries, the unusual technologies stayed hidden. Most humans didn't even know about these projects. Only a small circle of leaders, engineers, and scientists understood how large the hidden program truly was. That program began decades before the trouble started. It grew quietly under the surface of Earth, not in secret bases meant for war, but in protected underground laboratories where the brightest minds studied ancient artifacts found in the solar system and beyond. Some of these artifacts came from forgotten civilizations that had passed long before humans ever built cities. No one knew their full story, but Earth realized early on that these discoveries held knowledge far beyond normal Council science. Humans studied those finds with patience and respect. They didn't rush. They didn't use the technology publicly. Instead, they spent years experimenting, repeating tests, making sure everything was safe and stable. Mistakes were fixed. Successful breakthroughs were documented and stored. Slowly, Earth built a quiet foundation of advanced technology that could change everything if it was ever revealed. But Earth didn't want to reveal it. For many years, the idea of showing their true abilities felt unnecessary. Humanity believed cooperation was more important than competition. They believed peace was better than pride. And they believed, honestly, that the galaxy would learn to accept them without needing to see how strong they truly were. But things changed after the incident at the research station. Leaders who had always supported calm diplomacy now faced pressure from their own people. Citizens felt frustrated. Scientists felt unsafe. Diplomats felt ignored. Everyone saw how the Council brushed aside Earth's concerns, treating the research station incident as a small inconvenience instead of a serious threat. This moment forced Earth to reconsider everything it had kept hidden. Inside the underground command center, an enormous circular space built far below. The surface representatives from every continent gathered in person for the first time in many years. The room was filled with quiet tension. Screens surrounded the space, displaying old reports, star maps, and hidden projects that were known only to a small number of individuals. This was the place where Earth kept its true strength, not armies, not weapons, but knowledge carefully collected, carefully tested, and carefully preserved. One of the oldest projects was a ship design created long before Earth entered the Galactic Council. It wasn't a warship. It wasn't even built to intimidate anyone. It was a vessel meant for deep space travel, capable of crossing distances that normal engines couldn't handle. The ship used energy patterns learned from ancient ruins discovered near Jupiter's orbit, patterns that didn't match any known Council technology. Earth never released the design to the public because they worried the galaxy might misunderstand it. At that time, humans were still newcomers. They wanted friends, not fear. So the deep space ships remained hidden, waiting for a time when humanity might need them. Now, for the first time in years, leaders stared at the design again. They saw the potential. They saw the calm strength behind the curves of the vessel. And they saw an answer, not for war, but for dignity. Next to those designs were files about defensive systems that Earth had tested, but never used. Shields that could protect entire outposts without harming anyone. Energy fields that could disable a ship gently, without leaving long-term damage. A few scientists had even discovered ways to track hostile fleets without ever entering their territory. These inventions were never shown to the Council, because Earth wanted time to understand them properly before sharing them. The leaders in the room looked at all of this, and for the first time in a long time, they questioned whether hiding everything had been the right choice. Earth had tried to build trust slowly. They had tried to be polite, patient, and cooperative. But patience had turned into vulnerability, and cooperation had turned into exploitation. Quietly, a decision was made. Earth would no longer pretend to be weaker than it was. They wouldn't brag. They wouldn't threaten anyone. They wouldn't show off their technology like a warning. But they would prepare. They would organize. They would stand firmly, not aggressively. And they would make sure the galaxy understood, without hurting anyone, that humans were not a species to push around anymore. The first step was to activate the dormant construction yards deep beneath the planet's surface. These massive caverns were originally created as safety projects, places where Earth could build ships that could help if a natural disaster ever threatened the planet. Their existence was never a secret, but no one knew just how advanced they truly were. Inside those caverns, enormous scaffolding towers lit up for the first time in years. Engineers who had spent their careers working on minor roles were suddenly called in to restart old blueprints. Machines that had been silent for decades began humming again. Screens that had been dark flickered to life. It felt like the world itself was waking up from a long sleep. Earth wasn't preparing for revenge. They weren't preparing for conflict. They were preparing for truth, a moment when they could no longer allow the galaxy to look down on them. As the construction yards activated, another significant event took place. A group of scientists reopened a vault containing devices recovered from the moon years ago. These devices were shaped like smooth stones, but they emitted patterns that matched the energy signatures found in other ancient artifacts across different star systems. No one knew exactly who made them or how old they were, but Earth scientists had learned enough to replicate some of the energy flows. This replication became the foundation of Earth's advanced communication system, allowing them to send signals across impossible distances without needing standard Council relays. Until now, this system was used only for deep space research. But after the research station incident, Earth planned to use it for something more important, a message to the galaxy. Not an angry message, not a threat, but a statement. A simple truth that would make everyone stop underestimating humanity. While engineers and scientists worked tirelessly underground, leaders on the surface met with explorers, diplomats, and researchers who had spent years in other star systems. These people shared stories about how humans were treated, not always badly, but often with subtle disrespect. People talked about meetings where alien officials ignored human suggestions, trade agreements that were rewritten at the last minute without warning, and council gatherings where human experiences were treated as less valuable than those of older species. None of these moments were dramatic, but together they created a picture of a galaxy that didn't take Earth seriously. That was about to change. The human spirit, patient, strong, adaptable, was beginning to rise in a way the galaxy had never seen before. People across Earth felt something shifting inside them, something deep and old. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was pride. Not the kind of pride that looks for a fight, but the kind that stands tall and refuses to be stepped on. Earth had stayed quiet for so long because they wanted peace. They still wanted peace, But they now understood that peace didn't come from silence. Peace came from respect. And respect would only come when humans stopped hiding who they really were. The world didn't become louder overnight. No ships were launched yet. No messages were sent. But a calm determination settled over the planet. It filled the air. It reached every home, every office, every hidden lab, and somewhere deep inside Earth's underground command center, the first fully assembled ship, silent, sleek, powerful, came to life with a soft glow. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a threat. It was a symbol. A sign that the age of hiding was ending. And the galaxy had no idea how much this quiet shift would change everything. Earth had stayed quiet for a long time. They had tolerated countless small insults, unfair actions, and cold treatment, hoping things would get better. But after the research station incident and years of being ignored, something inside humanity finally shifted. People no longer felt the need to hide behind patience. They still wanted peace, but peace built on dignity, not silence. Deep underground, in the hidden chambers where Earth's leaders gathered, the first new ships had already begun their final checks. Scientists and engineers worked day and night, not out of fear or anger, but out of a sense of responsibility. For years they had protected the galaxy from misunderstanding by keeping Earth's true abilities out of sight. Now they were preparing to show the galaxy that humans were more than the quiet species. Everyone thought they were, but Earth didn't want to show strength through power. They wanted to show strength through clarity. So the first step wasn't to launch ships. It wasn't to confront anyone. It was to send a message that would travel through every known star system, a message that couldn't be intercepted, blocked, changed, or silenced. A message sent through Earth's advanced communication network built from ancient knowledge that even the Council didn't understand. Leaders knew this message had to be simple. They didn't want dramatic speeches. They didn't want to sound threatening or emotional. They wanted to speak the truth honestly. And sometimes the simplest words are the ones that hit the deepest. After long discussions, Earth prepared a short statement. Just a few lines, calm, direct, clear. It said, "Attacking humans, or we will stop pretending to be polite." That was it. No details, no explanations, no warnings. Just a statement that revealed what the galaxy had ignored for years. Earth's politeness was a choice, not a limit. When the message was ready, the communication team connected their system to the ancient-powered transmitter. The glowing rings inside the machine hummed with a soft, steady pulse. Engineers stepped back, unsure if the galaxy was ready to hear what Earth had held inside for decades. The signal went out silently. No bright flash, no dramatic sound. It simply spread, crossing millions of kilometers in seconds, touching every station, every monitor, every device built to read official Council transmissions. For the first time in history, a human message reached the galaxy before anyone else could filter, adjust, or reinterpret it. Across dozens of worlds, alarms rang as monitors lit up with Earth's message. Some systems tried to block it, but the signal passed through effortlessly. On trade stations, merchants froze mid-conversation. On planets filled with alien crowds, people paused in confusion. On military bases across the Coalition's territory, officers stared in disbelief. The wording was calm, but the meaning was impossible to ignore. Within an hour, the Council called an urgent meeting. Representatives from older and more powerful species demanded to know why Earth had issued such a bold statement. They accused humans of stirring unnecessary trouble. They insisted that Earth was exaggerating and should retract the message. But despite all their noise, there was something else happening in the background, something far more silent and far more frightening to anyone who had ever underestimated Earth. Human ships began to move, not publicly, not in grand fleets, not marching across space. Instead, they emerged from the shadows of Earth's outer orbits, one by one, without fanfare. They flew in smooth formations, not as a show of force, but as a demonstration of precision and discipline. These were not the ships the galaxy had seen before. They were sleek, quiet, controlled by systems more advanced than the Council believed humans could even build. They looked nothing like the bulky, standard-class vessels Earth used for trade or research. They moved without visible engines, gliding through space as though following a silent rhythm. But the most unexpected part wasn't their appearance. It was the silence. Coalition sensors couldn't read the ships. Their scanners bounced off harmlessly. Their tracking systems froze. Their monitoring networks only detected shapes moments before the ships passed by. It was as though the new human vessels existed outside normal measurement. And yet, the ships weren't doing anything dangerous. They weren't aiming at anyone. They weren't surrounding colonies. They simply flew into places humans had avoided for years, places where they had been blocked, insulted, and pushed aside. Everywhere the ships moved, people watched with widening eyes. The galaxy was seeing something it had never seen before. Humanity without restraint. The Coalition tried to act unimpressed. They laughed publicly, calling the message childish. But behind closed doors, their advisors whispered warnings. The movement of human ships was too coordinated, too confident, too calm. It didn't look like a species bluffing. It looked like a species that had stopped hiding. Meanwhile, Earth observed quietly. Leaders didn't brag about their ships. They didn't comment on the reactions spreading across news networks on distant planets. They simply watched and waited. For the first time, the galaxy felt unsure. Until now, humans had always reacted with quiet words and gentle explanations. They apologized even when they weren't at fault. They looked for peaceful outcomes even when treated unfairly. They walked softly through every problem, giving others space. But the message, short, sharp, honest, showed a new side of humanity. A part the galaxy had never seen. A part that had always been there, dormant, patient, controlled. The Council couldn't ignore it anymore. They demanded a private meeting with Earth, asking for an explanation. Humans attended the meeting calmly. As always, they listened carefully. They allowed every representative to speak. But this time, something subtle had changed. Humans didn't lower their heads. They didn't speak softly to avoid discomfort. They didn't try to make everyone happy. Instead, they spoke plainly. They explained that the attack on the research station was unacceptable. They explained that ignoring human concerns was no longer possible. And they explained that Earth didn't want conflict, but they also wouldn't accept mistreatment anymore. Council representatives, who once dismissed human complaints, found themselves struggling to interrupt. For the first time, the human envoy's tone wasn't apologetic. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't aggressive. It was firm, balanced, controlled. It was the sound of a species that had found its voice. While the meeting continued, Coalition fleets noticed something even more unsettling. Human ships had moved near several border regions, not in a threatening formation, but in quiet, perfect alignment. They maintained a respectful distance, making no hostile moves. But the message was clear. Earth was watching. Earth was present. Earth existed in places where it had once been pushed away. People across the galaxy began talking, not about the message itself, but the meaning behind it. Many realized that Earth's politeness had been misread for years. They understood that humans weren't peaceful because they had no choice. They were peaceful because they believed it was the right way. But patience, when misused by others, eventually reaches its limit. Now the galaxy was seeing the truth. Humans were kind, but not powerless. Gentle, but not fragile. Polite, but not endlessly so. Meanwhile, on Earth, people felt something they hadn't felt in years, a sense of unity, a sense of pride. They didn't want conflict, but they wanted fairness. And now, for the first time, they felt their leaders were speaking directly, honestly, without trying to soften every statement. The new ships kept drifting in silent formation, across human space, like guardians reminding the galaxy that politeness should never be mistaken for weakness. These ships didn't fire, didn't threaten, didn't confront. They simply existed calm, composed, and unmistakably present. And the galaxy noticed. Even species that had never interacted with humans began studying Earth more closely. Older civilizations whispered that the quiet species from the blue planet might be far more advanced than they had ever expected. Younger civilizations watched with admiration, realizing humans were not the timid newcomers they had been labeled as. The coalition grew uneasy. They tried to hold meetings of their own, sending out messages claiming Earth was overreacting. But no one believed them. Their confidence had started to crack. Earth had not raised a weapon. Earth had not sent a threat. Earth had only spoken the truth and let their silent ships speak the rest. And in that calm, the galaxy felt something it had never felt from humans before. Authority. Real. Steady authority. Not because Earth wanted power, but because Earth finally chose to stop hiding who they really were. And the galaxy could feel the shift like a quiet tide beginning to rise, steady and unstoppable. Part 5 begins at the moment. When the galaxy finally sees what humanity can really do, but humanity still chooses control instead of destruction. The whole galaxy waits, wondering how Earth will respond after so many attacks and insults. Some believe humans will finally lose their patience and strike back with full force. Others think humanity will still try to solve things through talking. No one truly knows what is coming, because humans have always acted differently from what others expect. The coalition fleets gather near the border of human space. They look confident on the surface, but deep down, many of their officers are nervous. They remember the strange message Earth sent out, short, direct, and unlike anything humans had ever said before. Stop attacking, or we stop pretending to be polite. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a negotiation. It sounded like a promise. And something about the calmness of that message scared them more than any angry speech ever could. Across every news channel in the galaxy, experts debate what the message truly means. Some alien commentators say humans are bluffing. Others say humans have been hiding something for years. Some claim the silent movements in human territory are just routine fleet rotations. A few voices quietly suggest that humanity may have been preparing for a moment like this since the first day they joined the Galactic Council. Back on Earth, the atmosphere feels different from anything the planet has felt before. People are quiet, serious, and focused. There is no panic, no chaos. Instead, there is a steady determination spreading across cities and colonies. Humanity has always been patient. They have always tried to avoid showing their strength, because they never wanted to scare anyone. But now they realize patience alone won't keep the peace. In a hidden control room far below the surface, human commanders stand before giant screens that show the positions of every ship, every station, and every incoming hostile vessel. They don't raise their voices, they don't panic, and they don't show anger. Instead, they work like people who have been preparing for this exact moment for years. Slowly, one by one, massive human warships rise from the darkness near the edge of the solar system. They are silent, black, and shaped unlike any ships the galaxy has seen. Their surfaces reflect almost no light. Their engines make no noise. They look like shadows given form, built for absolute control over any battlefield. These ships are not shown in public museums. They are not part of any council registry. They were never displayed during diplomacy summits. They were hidden because Earth never wanted to intimidate anyone. But now, After the attack on the research station and the Council's refusal to act, Earth has decided that hiding their strength is more harm than good. As the ships begin to move, the galaxy detects the first energy signatures. Alien fleets panic as their sensors start picking up ships that should not exist. Some crew members even wonder if their equipment is malfunctioning. But the truth is simple. Human ships are faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything in the known galaxy. Inside the coalition fleets, captains try to organize their defenses. Orders fly back and forth in desperate voices. They try to track the human ships, but the shapes on their screens move too fast. Every few seconds, the markers blink out, reappear somewhere else, then vanish again. It feels like the humans are not flying ships. They are appearing and disappearing at will. Back on Earth, the decision has already been made. Humanity will not strike first. They will not destroy any ship. They will not harm any civilian. They want peace, not revenge. But they also know they must show the galaxy something undeniable. Patience is a choice, not a weakness. The first human ship enters the battlefield. It glides silently between two coalition cruisers. Instead of firing weapons, it releases a pulse, quiet, controlled, perfectly aimed. The coalition cruisers suddenly lose power. Lights go out. Engines shut down. Weapons go offline. The crews. Inside, the cruisers panic as their ships drift helplessly. Then the same thing happens to another ship, and another, and another. Across the entire front line, coalition vessels fall silent one by one. Not damaged, not destroyed. Just disabled cleanly, efficiently, almost gently. The crews are unharmed, the hulls are intact, and the ships remain stable. But they can't move. They can't fire. They can't even call for help. Within minutes, an entire fleet is frozen in space. The galaxy watches in disbelief. Humanity has just stopped a full-scale invasion without firing a single deadly shot. No explosions, no flames, no debris. Just silence. Alien commanders try to send warnings. They shout orders. They try to activate backup systems. But nothing responds. Their ships feel like toys in the hands of someone who knows exactly how they work. A broadcast appears on every disabled ship's screen. A calm human officer speaks in a steady voice. There is no anger in the words, no threat, just a simple message. We will not harm you, but you must stop attacking Earth. The officers inside the coalition ships look at each other. Some feel ashamed, some feel relieved, some feel terrified. But all of them understand one thing. Humans had the power to destroy them instantly, and yet they chose not to. In the Galactic Council chambers, representatives sit in stunned silence. They never expected this. They believed humans were slow learners, always behind the older civilizations. But now they see that humans had advanced quietly, slowly and steadily, never bragging, never showing off, never competing. They grew, strong without anyone noticing. Within hours, more human ships appear near other hostile groups. Each time, the same controlled display happens. Coalition forces lose power. Their weapons shut down. Their ships drift harmlessly. And the humans speak the same simple message. We don't want to fight. The most experienced members of the coalition finally understand the truth. Humans were never being polite because they feared conflict. They were polite because they chose kindness first. They didn't want to dominate anyone. They didn't want to force their values on others. They simply wanted to live peacefully in the galaxy, but the galaxy mistook kindness for weakness. And now, for the first time, they were seeing the real difference. Kindness is a choice, and so is restraint. Hours pass. The battlefield stays silent, with human ships floating calmly among hundreds of powerless vessels. No one fires. No one screams. No one attacks. It is the quietest military confrontation in the history of the galaxy. Finally, the Coalition sends a message to Earth. Their voice is low, uncertain, almost embarrassed. They say they want to talk. They say they want peace. They say they didn't understand humanity before, and now they do. Earth replies calmly, "We accept." Everyone on the human side knows something important happened today. By refusing to use deadly force, they showed strength the galaxy has never seen. And by staying calm, they earned something far more powerful than fear. They earned respect. In the galaxy's history books, this day will be remembered not as a battle, but as a demonstration of what humanity truly is. A species that wants peace first, but won't allow anyone to mistake their silence or patience for weakness. The Coalition fleets wait in the quietest space, their systems slowly being restored by human engineers. Human crews send help, tools, and instructions to repair disabled power cores. The same people who were attacked days earlier now offer assistance with steady hands. As this quiet cooperation unfolds, the galaxy begins to see humans in a new light. Not as the polite newcomers, not as the soft diplomats everyone pushed aside, but as a civilization that holds immense power and chooses to use it carefully, and that careful choice becomes the beginning of real change. The galaxy learned something, knew that day humans are polite because they want harmony. But if someone tries to hurt them again, they will not stay quiet. They will not hide their strength. And they will not pretend that they don't want to rule the galaxy. They don't want to dominate. They simply want peace. But if someone forces them to defend themselves, they will do it with such precision, control, and discipline that no one will ever forget, and that quiet power becomes the foundation of a Ba. New era, an era where the galaxy stops seeing humans as fragile newcomers and starts recognizing them as leaders, allies, and protectors. This is how Part 5 ends, with the galaxy silent, humbled, and finally understanding who humans really are. If you want, I can now write Part 6 in the same style, length, and tone. Part 6 begins in a quiet moment after the tension of the demonstration fades. For the first time in days, the galaxy feels as if it is holding its breath. Every ship, every colony, every council hall waits to see what humanity will do next. The Coalition fleets sit powerless but unharmed, drifting silently in space, while human engineers help them reconnect damaged systems. It feels strange for the Coalition crews. They came expecting a fight, maybe even expecting to overpower Earth. Instead, they are being treated gently by the same people they had insulted and attacked. In many disabled ships, alien crew members whisper to each other about what they saw. They talk about the human ships that appeared out of nowhere, the way those ships moved like shadows, and how humans disabled their fleets without causing injuries. Some feel ashamed. Some feel grateful. Others simply feel confused. But no one feels hatred anymore. When someone shows mercy in a moment where they could have taken advantage, it changes something deep inside. Back on Earth, the atmosphere is calmer than the galaxy expects. People are not celebrating, but they are relieved. Many gather around screens in public squares, watching updates as engineers from Earth and different colonies assist the Coalition crews. There is a quiet pride spreading across the planet, pride not in power, but in the way that power was used. People are grateful that their planet stood firm but didn't lose its humanity in the process. The Galactic Council holds an emergency meeting. Representatives sit in their seats with serious expressions. For years, they treated humans as if they were inexperienced newcomers, always needing guidance. But now, those same representatives avoid eye contact with the human ambassador. Many of them feel guilt. Others feel respect. Most of them feel both. There is a long silence before the council begins. Normally, these meetings are full of loud arguments and speeches. This time, everyone chooses their words carefully. They know the galaxy has changed. They know that the old understanding of human weakness was wrong. They know that if Earth had wanted to end the conflict violently, they could have done so easily. The council speaker finally turns toward the human ambassador. The speaker's voice is quiet, almost hesitant, as they say that the council deeply regrets the attacks on the human research station. They announce a formal apology on behalf of every member who failed to take the situation seriously. Then, they add that the coalition will be required to repair all damages, restore trade routes, and take responsibility for the events that led to this crisis. The human ambassador listens calmly. There is no anger in their eyes, only a tired understanding. Humanity never wanted this fight. They only wanted fair treatment. And now, for the first time, the council seems ready to offer it. When the ambassador speaks, the entire chamber goes quiet. The voice is steady and warm. They say that Earth accepts the apology. They say humanity does not want revenge and does not wish to punish anyone beyond fairness. They say humans want a peaceful galaxy where everyone respects each other equally. Then, they say something that makes the entire chamber sit straighter. We were polite because we believed peace would be easier if everyone felt safe with us. But peace also requires honesty. Today, we chose to be honest. Those words settle into every heart in the room. The council finally sees the truth. They misunderstood polite behavior as weakness. They thought slow words meant slow minds. They thought quiet strength was no strength at all. But now they know humans simply didn't want to scare anyone. Everything changes with that realization. Across the galaxy, news reports talk about the events with a mixture of shock and admiration. Some worlds express relief that humans are peaceful and kind. Others express gratitude that Earth helped repair ships instead of destroying them. Many share messages saying they misjudged humanity and they want to start fresh. But the most interesting shift happens among ordinary citizens. As messages and videos spread, people from different planets begin sending messages directly to Earth, thanking them for showing restraint, asking for cultural exchanges, and suggesting new alliances. They see humans differently now, not as newcomers, not as harmless diplomats, but as people who carry strength with compassion. Meanwhile, the coalition leaders prepare to speak with Earth directly. They know they have to face the consequences of their actions. But they also realize something else. They want peace. Real peace, not something forced or temporary. The moment they saw their ships drifting powerless but untouched, they understood why humans acted the way they did. When human representatives enter the meeting room, the coalition leaders stand up out of respect. They don't try to hide their feelings, embarrassment, regret, responsibility. They say that they are ready to rebuild the relationship with Earth, and they want to create new rules, so misunderstandings like this never happen again. The humans agree, not because they want to punish the coalition, but because they want to prevent future accidents. They talk about the need for honest communication, for respect between all species, and for shared responsibility in keeping peace. Both sides sign a new agreement. It is simple and clear. Everyone leaves the meeting with lighter hearts. Soon after, the disabled coalition fleets regain full power and begin returning home. Human engineers wave farewell as the ships drift away. The crews inside those ships look out through their windows, many of them feeling a strange warmth. They came expecting war. They leave with respect for a species they once underestimated. As the final ship jumps into hyperspace, the quiet of space settles once again. Human ships stay behind a little longer, making sure no vessel is left stranded. Only after confirming that everyone is safe do they return home. Back on Earth, people welcome their returning fleets with relief and quiet joy. There is no loud celebration, no fireworks, no triumphal speeches. Instead, there is peace, a kind of peace that feels strong and earned. Families gather around screens, proud of what humanity showed the galaxy. Not anger, not dominance, but controlled strength and compassion. Over the next weeks, the galaxy slowly adjusts to the new reality. Humans begin receiving invitations to trade summits, cultural events, and science partnerships. Other planets ask for help in engineering, diplomacy, and technology. Many civilizations realized that humans were not pretending to be polite, simply believed it was the right way to build trust. And now that the galaxy understands them better, people treat Earth with a level of respect that never existed before. In schools across different worlds, teachers begin telling the story of Earth's demonstration. They explain that true strength does not come from hurting others. It comes from choosing not to, even when you have the power. Students listen with wide eyes, amazed at how quietly humans solve the conflict that could have turned into a full war. They learn a lesson many adults had forgotten. Calmness is not weakness. Kindness is not fear. Politeness is not a flaw. Humanity also learns something important. They realize they do not need to hide their abilities anymore. They can be polite and honest at the same time. They can be peaceful without pretending to. Be small. They can be respected without intimidating others. They finally understand that the galaxy does not fear their power. It respects how they choose to use it. As time passes, Earth becomes a symbol of balanced strength. Many worlds turn to humans when they need a fair voice, a wise mediator, or a reliable partner. And Earth responds with the same calm steadiness that has always defined them. The galaxy never forgets the warning humans sent. Stop attacking, or we stop pretending to be polite. But they remember it not as a threat. They remember it as a turning point. A moment when a patient species finally spoke honestly and changed everything. Years later, people still talk about the day when human ships surrounded entire fleets without firing a deadly shot. They talk about how humans offered help when they could have demanded surrender. And they talk about how, after everything, Earth chose peace instead of pride. In the end, humanity walks forward with a new place in the galaxy, respected, trusted, and understood. They return to their calm nature, but now everyone knows it is the calmness of people who carry great strength inside. A strength they choose to use only when necessary. And that choice, more than anything else, becomes the reason the galaxy lives. In peace, it wasn't fear that kept the stars safe. It was the simple truth everyone finally learned. Humans were polite because they wanted harmony, not because they lacked power. And when they stopped pretending, the galaxy finally understood who they really were.